exciting, most fun parts of our program, where we have our resource panel. So as I mentioned, our resource panel is a great opportunity where we can share additional information about different resources available across Canada and how you all can access them. So these are going to be a combination of capital providers as well as resource providers to make sure that you're able to get both of the support that you need. So with that, I'm going to welcome our panelists to the stage now. Laura, if you can just go to the next slide, please. Great. So first off, I'd like to introduce you all to the director of the Inner City Capital Connections Program, Diego Portillo Mazal, who will be moderating today's discussion. We will be joined by a number of different representatives. First, Otis Mushanga, the Manager of Programs and Services with Access Community Capital Fund. Nadine Spencer, the President of the Black Business and Professional Association, or BBPA for short. Tyson Jones, the Director of Financial Advisory Services with the Royal Bank of Canada, as well as Sylvia Penkak, the President and CEO of the Women Business Enterprises of Canada, or WBE Canada. All of our panelists are here and are excited to share more about what their organizations do, how they can potentially serve a need in your organization, and ultimately how you can go out and access these resources. We know that we are part of a larger ecosystem, and there are a number of different resources available, both in Toronto, Vancouver, and your specific cities or provinces, as well as across the country. And so we want to make sure that you all are aware of these, of other similar organizations, and are able to take advantage of them. So with that, I'll pass it off to Diego to kick us off with the panel and allow our panelists to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Marnie, and thank you again to all the professors who have led us to this point, and thanks to Marnie and to all of you for sticking around. We're going to do this panel pretty simply. We're going to start by asking the panelists to introduce themselves and their organizations, and we will then go on to sort of a question and answer conversation. So feel free at any point to drop your questions in the chat box, and I will be directing them to the panelists. As we said, this is a great wealth of resources, and you'll be able to hear a lot of the things that the professors have talked about, in particular referring back to Monday's presentation by Steve Rogers and the capital access dilemma, or the capital access journey that so many business owners have to do at some point in their business, or at multiple points in their businesses. So I'm going to start by asking Tyson Jones to lead us off, because he represents a traditional bank, and that's the first place where we start in any conversation around capital.
Thanks, Diego. And just probably a mic check. Can you hear me?
We hear you fine. Perfect.
So Diego, I saw my name being third on the list there, and I was hoping that I was going to go third with the intro, but I've prepared for the curveball that you threw us. But very happy to be a part of this panel. My name is Tyson Jones, of course, work for the Royal Bank of Canada. And for those of you who don't know, RBC Royal Bank is the largest financial institution in Canada. And we bank the most small businesses and entrepreneurs in Canada. And for myself, as far as my role, a director of financial advisory services, so basically responsible for the underwriting of capital for businesses in the Greater Toronto area. And I've been with RBC for 15 years now, and in that 15 years, I've only been working with entrepreneurs in different capacities. So started out first as a relationship manager, primarily working with tech companies, everything from startup to established companies who've been able to scale their growth to have national and global companies. And then from there moved on to looking at, different aspects of business, particularly, specialized solutions as it relates to investment in equipment through equipment leasing, to commercial mortgages, so investment in properties, to helping customers as far as transacting, so moving and receiving funds. And for the last, I would say, 3-4 years have been responsible for looking at how businesses across the country from a strategic standpoint are able to digitize their business, but as well look at different modes as to how they can increase their sales. So it's almost like that beyond banking element, in which a lot of folks, when you think about banks, think about capital only. But throughout this panel today, I'm looking forward to discussing, how do we support entrepreneurs across the country in capacities that is just beyond, access to capital, thinking about beyond banking and how RBC plays such an integral role in our communities with entrepreneurs and being a part of that ecosystem to enable their success. So I'll probably just pause there and go on to whoever the next panelist is.
Well, since we are talking about loans first, we're going to go to the person whose tagline says small loans, big ideas, and turn it over to Otis to talk a little bit about what they do and how it stands apart from the traditional bank.
Thank you, Diego, and nice to meet you all. So I'm just going to share my slides. I think if it will allow me to do so, just to share a few slides on our programs and the services that we offer at Access Community Capital Fund.
Laura, can you make sure?
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm now able to do so.
Okay, you can see your slides.
Okay, great. So I'm from Access Community Capital Fund. That's my contact information should anyone wants to reach out. I'm the manager of programs and services there. And we are a charitable organization, so we are a non-profit organization, and what we do is specialize in micro lending and support for small business. We help individuals who face financial barriers, those who are unable to qualify through mainstream lenders, such as the banks, and perhaps have nowhere else to turn to. So we are an organization that really helps those who perhaps are looking to start their venture, are limited in terms of the capital that they can access to finance their business and get it off the ground. We are considering more the skills, motivation, and the drive to succeed, in addition to all the other aspects around lending. So looking at your capacity as well to manage a loan. We are facilitating that in partnership with a credit union, Alterna Savings. They are a partner in this. So we are in partnership with them. So we facilitate the microloans and as well as offer training to support entrepreneurs to get to that stage where they are ready for funding. So we're not just offering access to financing, but we're also providing the wraparound supports, such as coaching, such as training. So most of the barriers to funding that we see with entrepreneurs, and by the way, some of the photos you see, they are actual clients of ours who have gone through the programs. They face challenges with credit. Most of our clients have challenging credit histories, so that makes them, in most cases, unable to qualify through traditional means. We also work with newcomers who are really eager to start businesses here, so they don't even have credit history when they come to Canada. So that means that, again, that's a barrier for them. Also, collateral is another barrier that most aspiring entrepreneurs face. Limited as well as low income also plays a part in that. And especially when they're at the startup phase, having no proven sales or revenue is also another barrier that we generally see. So what we do at Access that's a little bit different is we take a look at the individual's financial situation, their financial need, and their viable idea, their business plan, and their cash flows, and work with them to get to a stage where they are ready. We are invested in their success, so we're not going to, facilitate a loan unless we are sure that it's going to help them get to the next level. And we provide that those supports in terms of the training and the coaching and the financial management education around how to build credit, how to take care of your debt, how to manage your business finances, as well as your personal, because it also starts there. So we also offer those wraparound supports in terms of creating an ecosystem that allows them to flourish and to thrive. So to speak to our small business loan program, in partnership with Alterna, we facilitate low interest loans, and these are loans between 5,000 and 10,000 to emerging entrepreneurs. And we focus on individuals, a citizen, permanent resident, or convention refugee. Most lenders that I'm familiar with in terms of mainstream, they do not even consider like convention refugees. They are, started permanent resident and citizens. So if you are looking at the newcomer segment, that's another barrier that newcomers may face in terms of accessing capital, because their status is not quite there where they are able to access the mainstream services. One thing we need is a viable business plan. We also want to make sure that they have the capacity to repay. We don't have any minimum score requirement, credit score requirement. So we will have a chat about your credit history and really focus on what is it that you can do or have done to improve on it so that you're set up for success. Because what we're trying to do is prepare you for that next round of funding. Perhaps go to Tyson if you're not quite ready to go to Tyson yet to get the funding. So we are helping you build on those blocks so that you are in a place where as your business grows, it actually is in need of larger capital than what we can provide. And therefore you are better prepared and ready to go to the likes of RBC and everywhere else where they may be offering much larger loans or funding, access to funding. So just a quick snapshot of our loan structure. The current interest rate is at 3.7% that we facilitate, which is quite affordable. It's subject to change based on the prime lending rate, which is at 2.45 at the moment. So that's the only variable that's going to change in that equation of the interest rate. So if it goes up, if it goes down, the prime lending rate, that's how it's going to affect the overall interest rate. So the loan is generally up to 3 years to repay, and there are no penalties for paying off early. So it's an open loan. So there are no restrictions around that. So if you get a loan with us and perhaps you've got a 3-year term to repay it, and you're doing well in terms of your business or in terms of your income, and you want to pay it outright, perhaps a year in or even less, you're perfectly able to do so. So we work, because we are not a financial institution, we work in partnership with Alterna Savings, which is a credit union, and they administer and set up the loan on our behalf, and we work in partnership. So that's how you will be able to receive the funds, get you set up with Alterna once you've been approved through us, and then your loan repayment happens through a financial institution. The advantage of that is that your payment activity is going to help you build credit, as long as you keep your payments in good standing and every other obligation that you have. So that's another advantage of this, is to help those who may not have credit history in Canada, or who may not have not so great credit, to just start building on that credit so that they are able to then meet the requirements of bigger banks like RBC and others. So in terms of the training that we offer, we do offer an accelerator program. So we do have 2 accelerator programs, and one is our Small Business Accelerator, which is a 5 weeks long training program for those who are starting out at the early ideation phase. So we do have 2 cohorts split in under this program. So we've got the early ideation phase stage where individuals just have an idea. They've not really gone beyond just exploring the ideation phase. They're in the business plan development stage. So that's one cohort that we funnel individuals, and then we can work with them in that way. Then we've got the early launch phase, which is businesses that have launched and with at least a minimum of 3 months in operation, and they are looking to refine their business plan and grow the business. And these are generally at the close to or near the fundable stage. So they just need that extra push, or that need that extra support in terms of just getting over the participate to get to that funding stage. So for this, again, citizens, permanent residents, conventional refugees, and refugee claimants, because it's a training program, they are also able to participate, and it's open to both men, women, and non-binary individuals. Our Women's Business Accelerator program is our last one, which is specific because it's for newcomer women, those who self-identify as women. And because this is funded through the government of Canada, it has a specific eligibility requirement. Again, it's just to better prepare newcomers who are interested, newcomer women who are interested in starting businesses here. And what we see with our clients is that over 80% of them have newcomer backgrounds or immigrant backgrounds. So this is one of our other supports that we provide to help entrepreneurs who are thinking about starting a business in Canada to do so. So I'll stop here, and then I can answer questions at a later stage.
Thank you, Otis. I'm going to pass it over to Nadine. Not quite leaving the capital stack quite yet. So Nadine.
Hi, thank you very much, Diageo, for having me. I am Nadine Spencer, and I'm in Toronto, and I would just like to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I am the president of the Black Business and Professional Association. We are a 39-year-old organization. We're going to be 40 next year, and we are here to address equity and create economic opportunities for Black professionals and Black businesses across the country. And how do we do that? We do that through our programs. We have 21 programs ranging for financial literacy to business literacy. And I'm very thrilled that Tyson is here because RBC is one of our proud sponsors and partners of the program. When COVID-19 happened, one of the things we recognize is that the Black entrepreneurs that we serve, they weren't able to take advantage of the various stimuluses offered, whether by the government or anybody, because the challenge is that Black entrepreneurs, a lot of us did not have our taxes done. We don't have the access to capital. So the 6 months cash reserve that many people had, the Black entrepreneurs didn't have that. And so we really recognize that, in that last year of 2 pandemics that we had, which was, a health pandemic and a racial pandemic, Black businesses it came to light how underserved we are, and we were and still are. The George Floyd incident brought to the fact that, I say the knee has been on our proverbial necks for 400 years and continues even till today. And so what does that mean for the people and our members that we serve? It means that the programming that we have in place really has to address one of the main issues is systemic challenges because of the color of our skin. One of the things we say is that the main challenge for Black entrepreneurs is that we're Black. The color of our skin is Black. And because of that, when we go to sometimes access capital, we don't have the networks, all of the things that we imagine that we take for granted. When you sit in a seat of privilege, that you have the networks, you have the connections, you have the individuals to open the doors for you. In the Black business community, we don't have that. We did another study shortly after COVID called the Rise Up Pitch Competition, where we surveyed 700 Black women who participated in this program, which was really to give them opportunities and resources coming out of COVID, because the study showed that generally women were impacted, but then Black women were more disproportionately impacted by COVID. So this pitch competition, we did a study, we looked at the challenges that Black women faces as entrepreneurs, and then we came up with solutions. We also awarded 10 women $10,000 each to continue to build, grow, and scale their business. And that's some of the work that we do. The Boss Women Entrepreneurship Training Program, every Tuesday, we have a tribe of amazing women that show up each and every week to learn financial literacy, business literacy, how to do a business plan, how to scale up their businesses. Also, what the BBPA does, we give scholarships each year This year we gave 70 scholarships to Black students going on to post-secondary studies. In addition to our scholarship program, we have a financial literacy program, resume writing, an entrepreneurial program built in our scholarship program. And then most people might know us from the BBPA Harry Jerome Awards. In 2016, I received the BBPA Harry Jerome Awards for Business. And it was significantly important to me because I started my business at the age of 12 as an entrepreneur, a little Black girl in Jamaica that started a business out of necessity. I sold cakes in the marketplace and I repackaged it and made money. And the first time the 2 50-cent coins hit my little hand, I knew that I felt a sense of financial freedom and liberation just from being a businesswoman at the age of 12. So when I received this, the BBPA Harry Jerome Awards in 2016, it was incredible to me. But what was more incredible was that when I wanted to tell the story of how awesome the other counterparts were with me, the media didn't show up. The media does not want to tell stories of great Black success. But when I own a marketing communications agency, and when we tell the stories, when we have a gun violence event, everybody shows up, the media shows up. So the media doesn't want to tell the story of positive Black entrepreneurs. And so that's some of the work that we do at the BBPA. I truly believe that if you can't see it, you can't be it. So for the Black students that we honor, it's important that they see Black leaders in the space getting the award, but more so than the award, accomplishing in different sectors. So that's what the work that we do at the BBPA. I'm really very thrilled to be here today with you because I believe dialogue is so critical to the work that we do, because it is through dialogue that we're able to make impactful change and to get support in terms of mentorship, sponsorship, and coaching, which is very much needed for the communities that we serve. So thank you.
And last but certainly not least, I'm going to turn it over to Sylvia and talk a little bit about women-focused programs.
Thank you, Diego. I'm so happy and honored to be here with alongside my amazing co-panelists. Lovely to meet all of you. And my name is Sylvia Pentak. I am the president and CEO of Women Business Enterprises Canada Council, or as many know us in our community, WBE Canada, or VB Canada for short. So as Nadine mentioned, women, people of color were impacted by COVID, and we all know it. We all read about it in the news, but we also witnessed it in our communities. And while I want to introduce VB Canada, I do believe that the conversation will move towards intersectionality and how we are supporting all diverse communities that exist in Canada and Canadian landscape. So, but first, let me introduce VB Canada. We are a Canadian nonprofit organization. We are not quite there yet, where Nadine's organization is. We are 12 years old, started in 2009. And we started because there was a gap. When you look at large corporate and government supply chains, there are communities of businesses that are just not represented. And women-owned businesses are one of those communities. So VB Canada was created out of necessity to bridge that gap between women entrepreneurs and large corporate and government supply chains. And surprisingly, we were not created by women-owned entrepreneurs. We were created by corporations. So corporations like RBC, TELUS, BMO, and others actually came together, and they realized that there is a gap. There is not enough women-owned businesses in their supply chains, and they created their supplier diversity programs. They started to diversify their supply chains, and they funded VB Canada and other councils in Canada to support diverse businesses and help them get ready and access supply chains. So we are not where we used to be. So more and more corporations today are joining supplier diversity efforts, and they are looking to have more diversity and inclusion in their supply chains, really have diverse suppliers within their supply chain, which is very exciting to see. Are we where we need to be? Absolutely not. So at VV Canada, we work with both sides. We work with the buyer community, and we also work with suppliers. So with the buyer community, we help them understand the challenges, the barriers, and the red tape that exists in their existing supply chains. We help them develop supplier diversity programs, speed up the implementation, and really, but the most importantly, we help them connect with women-owned businesses. On a woman entrepreneurial side, we actually help connect women-owned businesses to the resources. We help them develop their businesses, connect with each other to develop partnerships so that they can scale up and build up their capacity faster. We help them to connect with the buyers, to pitch their businesses. And of course, we certify and verify them to make sure that the corporations work with the right businesses, that there is no fraud in a system. So a couple of key items that we do for businesses is certification, development, and absolutely the promotion. We are always happy to promote the businesses. We actually have a conference coming up in 2 weeks where we are going to be celebrating the most innovative and the most successful women-owned businesses, the best supplier diversity programs in Canada. So we are always happy to promote a goodwill, just like Nadine said, the good things that are happening within the community. So on behalf of VV Canada, I'm happy to say that we are not the only council working in Canada. I would also like to give a shout out to other councils. CAMSI certifies Black and owned businesses, the people, visible minorities, as well as Aboriginal community. CGLCC certifies people from LGBTQ2+ community. IWSCC certifies people with disabilities, as well as veteran communities. And there's also CCAB, Canadian Council of Aboriginal Businesses, which solely focuses on Aboriginal community. So these are 5 Canadian councils that really cover the diversity aspect in Canada. We each focus on our own area, but we collaborate together, and our suppliers are able to meet each other and really connect with each other.
So Sylvia, before we leave you, can you talk a little bit about, at top level, the importance of certifying and the importance of making that a part of your brand identity or your value proposition, both in the B2B
absolutely.
space and in the B2C space, if that you feel that it matters?
Absolutely. So I think I would just start with something that we all understand here in Canada, in Canadian landscape, and that's Aboriginal support for Aboriginal businesses. So there's been a lot of focus on supporting Aboriginal businesses at the federal government level, at provincial level, corporations, etc. What we haven't seen being pushed and promoted in Canada yet is the certification model. So because there is no certification model, we've seen a lot of fraud in a system where businesses are claiming to have some sort of Aboriginal component. They are checking the box that they are Aboriginal, and a lot of money and a lot of resources that is intended to go to Aboriginal community actually misses those communities. It doesn't support the businesses that it's intended for. And the reason, from my personal perspective, the primary reason for certification is to prevent that fraud, to make sure that the support, the resources, the opportunities are going to the businesses that are really impacted, that need that support. And, you know, I do believe, I'm a positive person. I do believe that people are good, but at the end of the day, business owners are also smart. So if they see the opportunity, they will find a way to work around it. And we've seen it in our case at VB Canada with the certification model, where businesses understand they have to pay for certification. The fee is non-refundable. They understand there has to be 51% majority ownership management control, and they still try to play the game and, you know, game to play. So I personally wish we didn't have to have a certification, that the businesses had honor, you know, and they did not steal the opportunities from businesses that need it. But I we are at the stage where we need it. On another end, if you have the certification model, businesses have opportunity, to come to the company and say, well, you are looking to increase spend with Black businesses, with women-owned businesses. You are looking to increase spend with LGBTQ community. Here, I have the certification. I'm certified with this council. I meet that box. I meet that criteria. Here I am. I do want to support your spend. I do want to do business with your organization. So actually, it provides access for the businesses. It provides opportunities for them. It provides control and checks and balances for the buying community. So certification is good, but most importantly, it works. It works. So I want to wave. I know Tanya is here from our community. I saw her earlier. So hi, Tanya. Wherever I go, in every single room, I see our women-owned businesses participating, being part of there. We have a fantastic, vibrant community who connects, is active, is engaging. When we connect VBs to each other, they are able to do business together, talk to each other, support each other, help each other scale up, and they buy from each other, which is incredible. That's my favorite outcome, when VBs buy from VBs.
Great. Nadine, I know your organization obviously highlights Black businesses. So talk a little bit about certification and brand identity as it, and particularly in the last year and a half.
I will. Well, the comment I wanted to make to Sylvia's point about certification, and our organization is a partner with CAMC, which is a Canadian Aboriginal Minority Council. My organization, my company, has been a certified supplier for many years. And one of the reasons why I champion the certification is because a lot of businesses, especially Black businesses, we start a business just because, we are, we make a good sauce, or someone says, you make this wonderful thing, and we just start, without knowing all the formulaic pieces of business, all the structural things that we need so we can get that RBC loan, right? And so when you're certified, there's things that is asked on that application. Do you have your financial statement? You have to present 2 years financial statement. You have to present the business plan. You have to be registered. So many businesses, they go to the bank and they're not registered. So how do we expect that we're going to get the loan, or we're going to get the supports we need when we don't understand what business is? And so part of the work that we do at the BBPA is to really educate our members as to what business is. We see a lot of individuals that they start a business just because, and then when they're required if they're applying for a grant or a loan, then they need to be registered, and they realize, oh my goodness, I need to be registered. So that's some of the work that we do, is working with, in our Boss Women program, is working with the women so they're registered. They understand what marketing is as part of their business plan. They understand what the financial statement is, how important that is as part of their business plan. And you talk about the branding and the brand identity. The one thing I want to say about that is that when we start businesses, we think we have a small idea and we are quote unquote small business. We're small business, but our audience expects big results. They don't really see our businesses as small. They have big expectations from us small businesses. And if we want to compete in a marketplace that is very crowded, we have to be able to compete, to present in that big scale that is expected. I was just listening to the session in marketing, and one of the great questions she asked is, who are you as a brand? What is your brand? And I was very thrilled to hear, I think, Owl and Goose talk about her brand, and also So Sweet, the greeting card company, because it's really important that you can hone down on who you are as a brand. Love and Nudes, I know I want to order some of your product just by how you talked about it. So this is all part of your brand, the business brand, that you have to be able to speak about it within a minute. You have to be able to say, boom, my product, my service is this. And that's some of the things we work with our entrepreneurs to do, because again, it takes confidence, it takes experience, it takes time. It's like flexing a muscle in order to be able to be articulate about your service and product, to sell it and tell it to other people.
Thanks, Nadine. And Otis, Nadine, you said something, just because, and I will challenge you, because you shared your own story and said you started your business out of necessity. And so many of the businesses, particularly the ones that Otis, you referred to, are starting out of necessity. Yes, they have a great idea. Yes, they may be coming with a recipe from home, but there's a necessity. I need to put myself into work and become business owners as a result. But can we talk a little bit about that early journey, that first step in accessing and getting to know a capital stack that up until now you have not been a part of, whether it's because it's your first time in Canada or because you just didn't think there was access to capital. But given your name, let's start you as our first access to the capital stack.
Yes. So so you mentioned a great point about starting out of necessity, because we're working with clients who are coming from underserved communities, low income for the most part. So, you know, they may be on welfare, receiving government assistance. So they're looking really to improve their financial situation so that they don't have to rely on some of those government supports. They can be financially independent. But then there are some barriers that obviously some of them, Nadine, you've expressed, where there is a race factor or ethnicity factor that comes into play in terms of barriers to accessing opportunities, to accessing resources. So those barriers, from an access point of view, we're trying to eliminate in a way where we are providing a level playing field, access to the training, access to the funding. We're not looking at that's why we don't have a credit score requirement. We want to have a conversation with them. So it's looking beyond the credit score. It's not set in stone. We're not saying, if you don't have a credit score of 650, then don't come to us, go somewhere else. But let's talk, even if you have, bad credit, let's talk through that, because what we understand from conversations like that, someone just needs that push or that motivation to perhaps help them take that next extra step to addressing their debt. They may have items in collections they haven't even touched. They don't even know what the process is to get, because when they go to the mainstream lenders, they're told your credit is not good, right? But they're not told, okay, here's things that you can do to fix it. They're just told, come back when you're ready. But how do you get ready, right, if you don't know how to get ready? So this is where we come in. So even if we have conversations and when it does not lead immediately to a loan, at least they know that they are preparing the foundation that will help them get to that point. Referring them to resources, providing the education, the financial literacy, because that's very important. Because without the knowledge, without the education piece, it's literally not going to work. All right, Nadine, you talked about access to, you're starting a business just because, but you don't have all of these things in place yet. So you sort of like working backwards. Yes, you start to make that first sale, but then you have to now work backwards because you need to now put all those foundations in place. You need to now work on your financials because most entrepreneurs that we serve, that's an area of weakness for them. And so, you're sort of working backwards. So that's what we see with most of our clients is, they're starting businesses out of necessity. They want to improve their situation. They want to really, be able to be financially independent, live that lifestyle that allows them not to, be in a situation where they are dependent on someone else for the most part for their income or for their financial security.
Great. And that leads me back to Tyson. And Tyson, a couple of times we've talked about businesses not being conventionally bankable. So what is conventionally bankable? And second, I guess with everything that's gone on in the last year and a half, both on the COVID side and on the social justice side, what changes have you seen to products and efforts on RBC's side?
So those are all great questions, and I'm happy that we have a lot more time to speak about this because these are important topics to talk about. And so I'll probably start with the second question which you asked, Diego, and that's more about creating a more inclusive economy, but also more inclusive access to capital, access to experts, access to network. And a lot of discussion has been, talking about, startups or, barriers, whether that's because of, race or, other factors. And I can speak intelligently about, RBC, a little bit about the other financial institutions, but I would say overall that it's something that's collective amongst, these major institutions that, do have such a strong influence on the success of small businesses and businesses in general, and economies, and the lives of everyone who calls Canada home. And what I would say is that we've taken a number of steps, and I would say the first step, looking at advisors. So Otis made the comment around they'll go and see, let's say, their banker or an advisor, and they'll say, okay, you don't qualify, right? And won't tell them anything else. And they'll be off on their own, and they'll have to find the answers somewhere else. Well, if you don't have a network, it's going to be difficult to find that answer, right? And so a couple things in which I think is important within that is, why aren't they qualifying, right? Could be, the numbers. It also could be other factors such as, maybe, don't have a business plan, or don't have all the information in the structure in which we're used to, seeing, or maybe, such as what Nadine shares, which is so important, is understanding the brand, understanding what is the story, what is your passion, right? Nadine, in introducing herself, talked about, when she was 12 years old and getting started in business. I was looking at some of the other pictures, and people were standing up immediately because they're attentive on it, and immediately you have that belief in that entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship and being a business owner, that is not easy, right? As an advisor, we have to be able to understand that and be able to communicate and be able to listen. And so one of the things in which we've done across all of RBC is make certain training mandatory. So we have unconscious bias training that is mandatory and completed by all advisors in RBC. The second is anti-racism training. That has come to light this year. And so all RBC employees are mandated to take that training. Is it, the solution, the fix? Absolutely not, but it is a starting point, because, this is something that is a face-to-face business, or virtually, face-to-face, and being able to understand and listen at where somebody's coming from and put yourself in their shoes and understand systemically, where their starting point could potentially be, is a lot into, feeds a lot into being able to create that relationship, build that trust, to be able to access capital, be able to get that support in which you need to continue to, start or manage or grow your business. So that's one thing. The other is access to capital, and I'll speak specifically to Black entrepreneurship. So we stood up a RBC Black Entrepreneur Program, and it is still ongoing, but some of the key things in which we have launched recently, the first is we did a partnership with a Futurepreneur. And so for individuals that are between 18 and 39, starting out your business, need some mentorship, somebody to help guide you along the way, plus capital, you could be eligible for up to $60,000 to start your business. Plus there is options for follow-on capital. And all of this is, trying to ensure that when you're starting your business and you are scaling up, that you have the best opportunity to do so. And we know that if you have mentorship, whether that's somebody who has other networks or somebody who's been through it themselves, can help guide you throughout that process. And when we talk about follow-on capital, let's say like 2 years down the road, after you're able to build up the sales and whatnot, it's amazing what you learn over those 2 years. And then you go to your bank, either 2 years after or throughout that process, keeping that relationship. It can be an extremely different story as far as helping them scale. The second initiative within our Black Entrepreneur Program, which was recently launched, is a business loan program, which, there's no age restriction on it. It's up to $250,000. Your amortization can go up to 10 years. First year can be interest only, but all of this is directed towards Black entrepreneurs because of the barriers in which we know that exist. Again, this is not a be-all, end-all solution, but it is a start to creating a more inclusive environment for everyone. And these are targeted programs, but I would say that when I shared in my introduction that RBC banks the most entrepreneurs in the country, especially on the small business front, we don't bank enough Black entrepreneurs. We don't bank enough minority entrepreneurs. Small business, from an employment perspective, employs 70%, right, of employees. And so if we're going to continue to drive the economy, if we're going to say that we have an inclusive environment, we need to get more Black entrepreneurs. We need to get more Indigenous entrepreneurs. We need to get more entrepreneurs that's reflective of the representation which we have in Canada. And I think targeted programs such as these, they should be temporary if they're doing their job. And so I think over the last, let's say a year and a half, almost 2 years, I think it's come to light in which everybody, through restrictions, having to be at home, has to be reflective and understanding the role that institutions play. I think there has been a social consciousness that it's not, financial institutions are not separate from our communities. We are part of the communities. And so if we are going to be representative of our communities, then our programs, our solutions have to look and feel, and the results should be reflective of the communities in which we are encouraging and which we are speaking about.
So a couple of things, and this one goes out to all of you, because one of the things that I loved that Nadine talked about was this pitch competition. And what we've seen, obviously, lately is that business owners saying, what else is out there besides loans? What is there for those pitch competitions? What's there for grants? What's there for delayed payment loans or any such innovative financial instruments? So throwing it out to all of you for a chance to talk about those things that give the entrepreneurs a little bit of time in this moment of uncertainty. Nadine, since you mentioned pitch competitions, I'm going to have you go first.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. When I started my business, I remember the biggest part of my challenge has been capital. Capital, I'm sure entrepreneurs, put your hand up. Put your hand up as capital if capital is the biggest challenge you have. It really is the biggest challenge. I remember going into my bank, and my biggest challenge always is making that payroll. The hardest thing as an entrepreneur is when payday comes. If you do not have that money to pay that person, you are sweating, because those people's livelihood is in your hands, and you have to satisfy the payroll. You have to pay the payroll. Even when you don't pay yourself, you have to pay the payroll. And I remember going into the bank one day to get some money because I needed to pay my payroll, and I was kind of at the end of my rope. As sometimes entrepreneurs, we do get there and we think that's it. I remembered my bank manager looked at me and he said, Nadine, you have all these receivables, but you haven't collected it. And I wanted, of course, a credit line on the receivables. And he said, and you've got a great client list. You've got Fortune 500 companies on your roster. This is not the time to give up, and you've been doing it for 5 years, so you must continue. And so one of the things I got out of that meeting that day is the understanding of the literacy behind business. So grants are great, but it's not sustainable. And what I want our entrepreneurs to know is that the grants are great, the pitch competition is great because it gives you the promotion. That's what I say. Look at it as a promotion. Because with the pitch competition, Ryerson, RBC, all our partners that funds this is giving the entrepreneur the exposure. So I say, look at that as an ad campaign that you would have paid for, but you got $10,000 or you participated. But we have to get into the true understanding of what it is to run a viable, sustainable business. You don't become a Tyler Perry without knowing that you're going to get a loan and you have to be responsible for paying that loan interest and for setting your cash flow and creating a budget and how can you service the loan. And so while I believe that, yes, grants are great and we should get the grants, I truly believe that businesses, if you're going to build and be sustainable, you have to be able to know how to manage money, which includes the managing a loan, paying your credit card on time. I never pay interest on my credit card ever because that's at a higher premium. And so it's knowing how to manage the diversification of different monies in your portfolio. And until we get there, we're not going to be sustainable. Because when I look at, what's the definition of a small medium enterprise? You're under 500,000. Is that right, Tyson? Some number that I think it's between 5 million. I think it's 5 million and some number. But I remembered when I made my first million and I wasn't even on that list for the small enterprise. I was like, what? I feel like Oprah Winfrey. I'm a $1 million company. But in order to build capacity and scale, we have to know how to manage debt and know how to manage money. And we have to know how to manage loans. That's why I think the loan program that's going to give you $250,000 in a loan, I think that's great. We have to learn how to manage that loan, pay the interest, and use it to service our cash flow. But knowing where the money's coming from, helping us to build a business. So that's where I like to go with the loan conversation and the finance conversation.
Yeah, I can add to that because I think that's exactly the same sort of education piece that needs to be emphasized. It's not how much you borrow, it's how much knowledge you have in handling what you borrow. Because you could have lump sums of money on your desk, but if it's not going to be used properly or invested properly in the business, it's not going to help you. So it's really about educating yourself, really thinking about looking at your plan. That's why that business plan is important. It's not just a document you use to get money and then you forget about it. It's really about your cash flow, really being realistic and reasonable in framing that, so that when you go in front of RBC or Access or whoever the funder is, you're able to justify why you need 10,000, justify why you need 500,000. Be able to speak to it, because one of the key things that we also help with is helping build that confidence behind speaking to your numbers, speaking to your overall business plan, because that's going to help you. When questions start coming back to you, are you going to be able to competently answer them? And and I'll plug in here that never get someone else to write your business plan for you. Never outsource the writing of your business plan to someone else, because that always shows through whenever the conversation regarding your business comes back to you, because you've paid someone to write the business plan for you in order to get funding from RBC. They'll ask questions. Access will ask you questions, and then if you can't answer them, then that's it's going to be a disservice to yourself. So I would say, when you're thinking about delayed payments, I think it's also trying to understand your current financial situation, looking at your business plan, looking at, okay, how much can I manage right now, and how can I use what I probably need right now effectively, so that I can manage even the payments of that loan. Most small businesses don't make revenue or profit right away. So that's part of the consideration when it comes to assessing eligibility and qualifying for loans, is your personal credit and your personal income circumstances. So that conversation will also be front and center. So it's not just focusing on the business, because you need perhaps from your income, whether you're working part-time or receiving other savings, or you need to start paying off the loan principal and interest from the beginning. So Access program, it's principal and interest 30 days from the date that you actually receive the funds. So, but the legwork has to be done prior to getting to that point, because you need to understand that this is what I'm getting into, and how do I then prepare myself for getting a loan, knowing that I need to start repaying and meet my obligations from start to finish.
And I will move the conversation a little bit in a different direction, because we are talking about financing and we are talking about strategy. So these things are interconnected. I do believe that finances don't live in a vacuum. It's actually the holistic approach to business. So what is your approach when it comes to marketing and sales and partnership building, and I like the entire business plan that you have. And this is where at VB Canada we look at how do you sell and who do you sell to, and what is your plan with your business? Are you going to do it, direct to customer? Are you going to approach large corporation and sell through them? So are you going to sell in a small mom and pop shops, like your product, or are you going to approach like Walmart and Costco, etc.? So then you are talking about not B2C business, direct to customer, but you are talking about B2B business because you are selling to the large reseller. So again, that is part of your business strategy conversation, part of your business plan. And this is where the councils actually can help you, to shortcut that sales process. Because if you come with your certification, you connect with the buyer actually tracks you in their spend. They want to help you and feature you. So it just the entire holistic business support ecosystem. So I think what you are starting to hear here in this conversation is that Canada has an amazing business support system. It just many of these resources are so hidden. There's not lack of resources and supports. There's actually so many that you can get lost in the forest of opportunities, and you can really start looking at financing, and you can go down the road of financing without actually getting any funding. So the best approach, in my opinion, is just start somewhere, connect with somebody who can help you. So whether it's BBPA, whether it's Access, whether it's RBC, whether it's VB Canada, just start somewhere, connect with somebody who can connect you and really help you get connected to the resources that are available for small businesses and for diverse businesses. And each of us, we do have our networks, we do understand the partners in the marketplace. So just don't try to figure it out alone, because you can waste a lot of time and resources. The support is so huge and so massive.
So yeah, I want to come back to that, but I'm going to ask a very unfair question. So I'm warning you in advance. This one's to Tyson and Otis, because one of the things that is usually the most difficult to understand for business owners is the time it takes to raise capital. So on a good day, how long would it take to go through the process of getting capital with first Otis and then Tyson?
Okay, so I'll answer it in this way. Yes, there is a lot of time to prepare to get to that stage, and I think it just ties in with all of these other pieces that we're talking about: the education, the business plan, the training. Getting to that point, there is years to get, or to get to that point. So it's not going to happen overnight. And we get some clients who come to us, I need a loan for this. You review what they say is their business plan. It's only 2 pages with 1 line per description of their marketing plan. That doesn't tell us anything, in terms of their financial, sort of projections. What are they looking at? There's not much substance there. And then when you suggest, okay, we really need to get back to the basics here and provide that support. Some are open to it. Some perhaps find it offensive that we are suggesting that they take a few steps back to work on the process. But I would say that's why we have the Accelerator programs, where, in the initial discussions that we have with them is really identifying where they are at the stage where they are at. And so if we feel that they are better served by going into a program or working with a coach to refine their plan and get to a point where it's it's really now ready to at least go through the first round of the review process, that's what we do. And it's all in good way to try and get them to be ready, investing in their success. But some people, I guess, I think being an entrepreneur, again, and this is probably a point that needs to be emphasized, is to be open-minded, to really receive, take in, critical advice, with exactly, an open mind, so that you are able to review things from a different perspective, especially when you're coming to a funder or coming to an investor, to really listen to what the questions are, and then to better prepare towards that. On average, if say your business plan is in place, your cash flows sort of meet sort of the standard for our process, it takes from anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks from initial submission to, say, a stage where you've got a decision, because there are steps that we really have to go through. Submit your plan, submit your application, we review all those documents. There is actually an opportunity for you to do a pitch, because you're going to speak to our loan review committee officers, so that's your opportunity to pitch, because they are asking you questions about your business. So that's why I was giving caution about outsourcing the writing of your business plan, because you're going to have this opportunity to really speak to your business plan. And if there are holes in it and you can't really speak to it, it's hard for them to make a recommendation to move forward with that if everything is not in place. So 3 to 4 weeks if everything is in place.
So I'll probably piggyback on that, and I'd say similar to the time frame that Otis said, 3 to 4 weeks if everything is in place. I'll probably you mentioned some great factors there, Otis. The one thing that wasn't discussed is the time frame that it takes to actually open up a bank account. So I think it was Nadine that talked about, being organized and having a company that is registered, that is potentially incorporated. That basic, step, and I say, basic in the most respectful, manner, is so important when it comes to being able to lend. And so, that is required when you're opening up an account, having, the proper identification, the proper ownership of that. Those are things that, unfortunately, if they're not in place, ends up delaying the process significantly. Then you got, the business plan, which I say is the roadmap in which, as an entrepreneur, you're looking at and you're saying, these are the steps in which I'm going to take my business to step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. Now, it's not like it is set in stone, but it's more of a map, so that you're able not only to show your advisors if what you're asking for is access to capital, but it's also, when we think about management and the viability of the business, you're able to take accountability and understand where your business is going. And when it's documented on paper, it ends up being so much more clear, both for the business owner, but as well as for, the advisor, whoever is at the other side of the table, with you. And again, like these documents, we see these documents, change depending upon circumstances, or even within the document have certain scenarios play out depending upon, what their, next step is. And so those are things that really, if they are in place, help accelerate or shorten the process to get funding. But what I would say is, yes, it's a big irritant, but having your information up front, organized, is the best way to do it. And there's also things in which you can do beforehand, outside of that. And I'll put some links into our chat here for folks to follow. But at RBC we have I think a pretty engaging self-serve website, because when I talk to over the 15 years in which I've been in business, you talk to entrepreneurs, especially ones that are just starting their business. I've had relationships for them for a long time, and finally they tell me, like, Tyson, the first time I met you, I actually didn't want to go and meet you, because one, there was that fear factor, right? They're like, I'd actually rather go to the dentist than go to my banker, right? And so how do you eliminate that feeling, right? Because I hear this and we can laugh about it, but it's something that is very real. And it's something that should not be. At RBC, like one of our vision is to be the most successful and trusted institution, globally. How can you be trusted if somebody fears you? And so I think, some of the things in which we have to do is, ensure that we have, advisors that make everyone feel welcome. And there's that element of belonging, no matter, who you are, what your background is. And I understand that we're not there yet, but, as an alternative, like I said, there's a website. It's called www.rbcroyalbank.com/business. I'll put the link in there, but there is.
I think Marnie just dropped the link in the chat box
perfect.
a moment ago for you.
But what I'll say there is, when it comes down to the Small Business Navigator, which I was just about to speak to, it provides you insights, up-to-date insights for your business, as if you have a network beyond your existing, network, so that, certain things, insights that you have that are alongside that capital help you increase your probability of success. And the other thing in which we have is we have a network that's beyond banking. When we think about partnerships, so hiring, we have partnerships with a company called Magnet, right? Where you're able to tap into, students and hire students and potentially take advantage of some, government services there. Because you think of right now and how tough it is to hire folks, especially qualified, folks. But what better than giving, a student who is motivated, ambitious, that want to, make their mark, give them an opportunity with, your business. We have Owner, which is a partnership in which we have that enables you to easily register your business and incorporate your business. All of this stuff is done, online in the safety of, your computer at your own pace. We think about, what COVID has done with respect to, restrictions on business, especially, retailers who are storefront. Well, we've seen a lot of our clients, a lot of entrepreneurs try and go online now. And so we have a lot of resources there to help your business go online and have that extra channel. And we've seen businesses actually do that successfully, where yes, COVID had a significant impact, but it also allowed them to pivot and see other opportunities to expand their business, from an online digital perspective to markets in which, they didn't have before. So it's almost accelerated, their business. I'm not saying that it was an easy acceleration, but it was something in which, like a lot of entrepreneurs, they found a way to get over the barrier and make their company, successful. So I'll put those links down there. I see the Black Entrepreneur link in there, and I'll just put the general small business link for everybody to tap into.
All right. We're going to move into the rapid fire part of this, and I'm going to ask you to keep it going because we got about 5 minutes left. So one piece of advice you'd give to a small business owner who did not qualify for any of the government assistance over the last year, starting with Nadine.
Get ready, get all your documents lined up, check your score on whether it's Borrow Well or I think Credit Karma, and go back.
Sylvia.
Get certified, get in the game, sell to big corporates.
Tyson. Oh, you're on mute.
If you don't qualify, ask your advisor, what do I need to do to qualify?
Otis.
Check your credit history, know where you stand. I think that's very important in the preparation piece. And as in tying into Tyson's, then you can have a conversation in asking, how do I go about addressing these issues that I have? But also be patient, trust yourself, and be confident.
And I have one quick thing to say to all the entrepreneurs here. Owner actually has for free, if you register with Owner, with the RBC platform, you can actually, they'll pay for your registration and you get $300, I think, in a business account. So it's a win-win. You have nothing to lose.
Great, and I love that. Nadine, give us a short story of a success story of one of the businesses you worked with in the last year.
Success story, one of the businesses we worked with, a woman came to us and she applied for different loans and didn't get it. We helped her with her business plan and all of those things, and she was able to get a FACE loan. Wonderful.
Sylvia, let's go to you.
A business owner came to us. She wanted to do business with Subaru, and Subaru doesn't have a formal supplier diversity program. So we worked closely with a Canadian consulate in Detroit, opened the doors for her. She got from introduction in December to contract in May. So very quick sales. It doesn't happen like that, but that was a huge success story. Usually it takes years to get into large supply chains.
Nadine, we've got a question to clarify what you meant by a FACE loan.
Yes, I'm putting it in the chat. So FACE is the Federation of African Canadian Economics. This loan fund came out of the Black Entrepreneurship Program that the Prime Minister announced in September. And it is a loan fund for Black entrepreneurs across the country. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat.
Wonderful. Otis.
So we worked with an entrepreneur who wanted to start a moving business. They, talked about how they face challenges in their youth with not being well-versed in money management. So their credit was in bad shape. And so they came to us and we're able to help them kickstart their sort of moving business. And it was, if you remember my slides, it was the very first gentleman who had a business card raised up. So we're able to help them get started with their business.
Tyson, tell us a success story.
Start of COVID here in Toronto, clothing company had just opened their doors January 2020. COVID hits March 2020. Lockdown happens April. Storefront for the clother. So their business is basically done. They can't do anything. And came to the banker and says, you know what, I know that we just have these initial loans with you, but we actually don't know what to do. They had no online presence and were just relying upon foot traffic to build their brand and have their sales. What we did, we got them set up with one of our providers, which is Moneris, set up a website, allowed them to take payments, receive payments online, as well as pay their suppliers as well online. And, they built their branding through that. They got somebody external to help them out with respect to some of the marketing. And they were actually able to withstand the restrictions. And they grew their business a lot quicker than what they had thought through the online channel, and were able to receive orders throughout North America. And so now their storefront is open, but their online sales is actually keeps on going at a higher rate than from what their storefront, because it opened themselves up to more markets than what they otherwise would have had. And so I think this is one of those successful stories of overcoming, adversity. And I'm happy that we're able to play, a small part in helping that entrepreneur pivot during a pretty trying time.
Awesome. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, so I'll give you a closing word, best piece of advice you've gotten and want to give to this audience. And Tyson, since we made you go first, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about that, and I'll go to Otis first.
So my advice would be patient, have confidence in yourself, and trust the process.
Wonderful. Sylvia?
Financing is important, yet making a sale is even more important. So definitely get your certification and don't try to do it alone. Corporations are looking for diverse businesses. This is the time to join the game and start selling and take advantage of what's happening in the markets.
Thank you. Nadine.
Never give up. You know, this is from the 12-year-old girl who got that BBPA Harry Jerome Awards for business. It's possible. And as an entrepreneur, there's so much possibility because you own your intellectual property, all of that. And, you know, as Cardi B says, you know, you got to make money moves. And when I think about money moves, I think about the networking. I think about the access to capital. I think about your business plan, your financial statements. And those are all the steps in your money moves. So, you know, you got to drop it like Cardi B. You got to make your money moves.
I think that's the first time we've had Cardi B quoted in a financial panel, but we'll go with that. And Tyson, close us off.
I don't want to sound corny here, but I do believe this is just don't give up on your goals. So just continue to be persistent. You're built for it, and you know, there are more resources out there to help. But just keep on striving for your goals.
Wonderful. And I'll give one that I've heard from a number of our panelists before, which is remember that for none of you, the end goal is raising capital. Raising capital is a tool for other things that you want to do. So you have to find the right capital at the right moment for the right use. And all these people here are offering to open their networks to help you out, to have a conversation. Tyson and his colleagues are going to be doing coaching to so many of the businesses in this cohort, but reach out and don't do this alone. So with that, I want to thank all the panelists. I want to thank all of you for sticking with us through this. And I'll turn it back over to Marini to close us off for the day. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. And thank you again to all of our panelists for all of your work today. I know we're grateful to be able to partner with so many great organizations across Canada and looking through ways in which just to continue to support our small business owners. So with that, I want to give a major congratulations to all of our participants today. You are now officially participants in the ICCC program, and you've completed the opening seminar series, which is really exciting. I know it's been a crazy couple of days with a lot of different resources and presentations, and I'm sure a lot of folks' brains are hurting a bit, but we're really excited to be working with you throughout this program and continuing to provide you with resources to help your businesses grow and thrive. Again, as Laura mentioned, we do have a lot of other program components directly following the opening seminar, from our digital learning series to our coaching and our annual conference. And you'll receive an email tomorrow with all of that information, along with the links to register for our webinars, for our annual conference, as well as a lot of the great links that were shared in the chat box now. So again, just to make sure that that you all are aware of some immediate next steps. So again, before you leave today, please complete our opening seminar survey. This is really helpful for us to understand how we can better serve our business owners, and especially with this being our very first cohort in Canada, we want to be able to understand how we can continue to better serve you and for future cohorts. So my colleagues have dropped the link to the opening seminar survey here in the chat box. So please be sure to complete that now while I'm kind of going over our next steps, and let us know in the chat once you've completed that. As we mentioned, one of the next major things is for you to complete our coaching interest form. So you heard from Tyson and Otis a lot about the power of coaching, and that's exactly what the coaching interest form will help you do. So in order to be paired with a coach, you have to complete that interest form, and that's the only way that we can better understand what your coaching needs are and match it with the appropriate coach. We're very excited to be partnering with the Royal Bank of Canada to provide capital coaching coaching resources to our participants, as well as to Pacific Community Ventures based here in the US to provide general business coaching. So you'll get that link with the coaching interest form on Tuesday of next week. And once you get that, go ahead and complete that out and submit it by November 8th. In addition, you saw Laura host a brief demo on our digital learning platform. That's going to be a great opportunity for you to take a lot of the lessons that we learned these past 2 days and really apply it to your business. So when you think about what your strategic position is, how does that apply directly to you and your business? And the digital learning platform is where you're going to be able to do so. So go ahead and complete the intro course. You can learn a little bit more about how to better utilize that platform as well as those other courses. And then lastly, we encourage you to download our program app, which is designed to help keep you all engaged and connected with each other, as well as stay up to date with all the various program components. So once again, I want to thank you all for taking this time to work on your business versus just working in your business. We understand how difficult these past 18 months have been for entrepreneurs across the world. And we understand how difficult it may have been for some of you to take that, to feel as if, wow, I'm taking some time away from my business and I know I have so many other things to do, etc. We appreciate you taking the time to really work on your business and think strategically about how to continue to navigate these changes in the pandemic and thinking through how to take your business to that next level. Again, we'll follow up with all of the presentations from this week in an email tomorrow, along with links to our webinar archive, etc. So please be sure to be on the lookout for that and continue to think through some of these lessons as you prepare for the other program components. And with that, just please continue to if folks are able to complete that seminar survey, that's going to be really helpful to make sure that we better understand how to support the program and make sure, that you all get access to the resources that you need. So I understand there may have been a slight issue with the seminar survey. So we're going to send, we'll send that to everyone shortly after in an email. So please be sure to complete that, to complete the survey. Once you get that, we'll try to send that out by this evening, along with the other materials tomorrow morning. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for these past few days, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.